Plug it in and grip the plastic, flip the switch, the button mash it, shove it in like Mike, I slam it, cartridge based like Jupot habits. In your face, ain't bits of magic, robot sounds and pixel planets. Don't stop now, you almost have it, beat the round and fight the track.
Today's featured console is the NES.
Alright, so picture this. You're just trying to survive another day in high school. You got the pop quizzes, you got the cafeteria food, not always good, and if you're really unlucky, you get detention. But some of the even less lucky end up with a school full of ghouls instead of algebra homework. So this is Ghoul School and the story of Spike O'Hara. Let's dive in and see what this is all about. It's definitely a low-tier legend.
Yeah, you see all those names right there? None of those matter except for Scott Marshall. Keep that in mind for later. And the publisher are some scumbags from Electro Brain. Welcome to Ghoul School for the NES, a spooky little oddball from 1992 that nobody asked for, but somehow it still haunts me. Developed by Imagineering, published by those scumbags at Electro Brain, this one dropped way too late in the NES life cycle. But it's got enough Halloween flavor to make it worth cracking open, like some kind of cursed lunchbox. Hey, I got 2 of those behind me. You play as Spike O'Hara, your average cool guy punk student who accidentally brings a cursed skull to class. Yeah, that's not gonna end well. He accidentally brought it. It was cursed with a psychedelic glow. Well, if you're wondering what happens next, I've got the story for you. I've got the scoop. Inside of the game manual, there's a whole storyline at the beginning introducing all the characters and Spike O'Hara's origin story, for lack of a better term. So let's see what that brings in. I've put this cute little clip show together for you. One day, Spike O'Hara, senior of Ghoul School High, was walking home from school. The date, Wednesday, October 29, 1991. As he was accustomed to, Spike cut across the local cemetery, which provided a shortcut home. As he entered, a gleam caught his eye. Spike walked over for a closer look, and when he found the source, he was astonished. There sat, at the base of a grave, a skull. Spike stooped down, unearthed the skull, and discovered it was engulfed in a psychedelic glow. A storm front suddenly blew in, and Spike was caught in it. He decided to bring the rare skull to anatomy class the next day. He scooped it up, put it in his backpack, and headed home. The next day, Halloween Eve, Spike showed the skull to his teacher, Dr. Ernest Femer. The doctor was so impressed, he asked to keep the skull for a special study. Spike agreed, but he worried because the skull was twice as big as it was the day before, and it glowed more than ever. He thought the skull was laughing at him as the doctor placed it on the pedestal. Outside, the storm raged on. This entire episode disturbed him, but he shrugged his shoulders and with the doctor left the room. Once alone, the skull transmitted a message to the realm of the dead. The ghouls had begun their assault. Spike's concern for the day, however, was finding a date for tomorrow night's annual Halloween dance. The only person to cross his mind was Samantha Pom Pom, the beautiful head cheerleader. But alas, she had already been asked. To make things worse, she had a date that night with a mysterious, unknown named Frank. Oh, Frank. He was totally bummed out, so he slipped quietly out the building and headed home. That night, Spike dreamed of clouds darker than the coal dust descending on Cool High. He was haunted by laughter. He dreamed of ghoul teachers and a rescue of a girl. There was an immense bolt of lightning, a crash, a scream, and hurried footsteps. Shadows entered the school. Spike, at home asleep, heard or saw nothing. Spike awoke that Halloween morning to terrible news. His dream girl Samantha had been kidnapped, and she was last seen with a lumbering hulk in the vicinity of the school. She was being held there. Spike would go rescue her. By now, the school was enveloped by a glow. Spike watched football player after football player enter the school to attempt to rescue, but none ever returned. Reports rolled out about a haunted school. Spike watched the city's most popular exterminators pull out massive equipment and enter the school with it. They were the Spirit Ridders task force. They too, along with their equipment, never returned. If even the Spirit Ridders were not to return, then who would? Where was all their ridding equipment? Finally, Spike could sit no longer. Could there be a link between Samantha's disappearance and the activities in the school? It was time for Spike to take matters into his own hands. Spike braved the storm and entered the school. As he entered the school, a voice called out,
"Come to me and see what is mine."
The double door slammed shut behind Spike and locked. Suddenly, surviving school had taken a whole new meaning. Ghoul School is like Metroid meets Castlevania, but made entirely out of bad decisions. You explore the school, collect shoes, and grab weapons that range from the predictable, like the baseball bat, to the ridiculous, like a towel whip or a super soaker full of holy water. Like Mega Man or Metroid, each weapon has its own use. Some enemies can only be killed by certain weapons, while other enemies can be killed by almost every weapon. There's also a huge cast of creatures and enemies like Optic and Blinky, the Grouchy Gourmet and Quarter Pound, Dumb Bell, King Cornea, Moss Top, Hands Off, Frankenstein's Monster, Ego, Green Gook, Grease Monkeys, Nibbles, Squeakies, Slam Dunk, Putrid, Medusa's Head, Parlez-vous, Spectres, Beethoven and Notorious, Cleanser and Sweeps, the Grim Reaper, Funny Bones, Bulip, Bonehead, Admiral Aorta, and Vents. Yeah, Vents do damage. Alright, now that we've seen the colorful crew of creeps out to ruin Spike O'Hara's day, let's talk about what it actually feels like to move through this haunted high school. You'll notice pretty quick that Ghoul School's controls have a little personality. The jump, for example, it's kind of infamous. The developer wanted to make it feel more realistic, so Spike doesn't just float like Mario or Mega Man. Instead, he's got weight. You commit to that jump, and gravity does not care about your feelings. It's not broken, but it'll definitely make you rethink how you line up every leap. Movement in general has this slippery, almost loose feel, like Spike's wearing socks on a freshly waxed floor. Guess that janitor's really been getting to work. It's jarring at first, especially when enemies or projectiles come flying in. Like those little eyeball creatures, my god, they have messed my day up more than once. But after a while, you kind of tune in to its rhythm. Once you learn how to work with the physics instead of against them, it actually adds a weird little charm. Like you're mastering an old school dance. And when it all clicks, it's satisfying. You start timing your jumps, chaining attacks, and navigating the school with a sense of flow that makes you feel like Spike's finally getting his footing, both literally and metaphorically. It's rough around the edges, sure, but that's what's part of the magic. Ghoul School doesn't play like other NES games, and once you adapt, that's kind of what makes it memorable. The visuals are wild, bright, cartoonish monsters with horror comedy vibes. Like if Ghostbusters and the Toxic Avenger had a pixel baby. Fun fact, Scott Marshall actually had extremely ambitious plans for these sprites. For example, he wanted the school bell to ring occasionally and have monsters rush through the hallways as if they're going to class, forcing Spike to hide in a locker for safety until the bell was over. The Grim Reaper also was supposed to hover behind you and follow you while you were low on health. There were even more features left out due to Electrobrain's ignorance. Like Spike was supposed to be a black kid. Scott felt like black kids didn't have enough representation in gaming back then, and wanted to change that, but the producers shut that down as they felt it would alienate their white audience. Sure, whatever. One thing that didn't disappoint in my personal opinion though, the soundtrack. It's pure haunted arcade energy. Half the time, it sounds like the composer was being chased by the very ghosts he was scoring for. I mean that as a compliment. Ghoul School's soundtrack deserves way more love than it gets. From the second that first hallway theme kicks in, you know you're in for something weird and catchy, in the best way. The music writes this perfect line between spooky and funky, eerie enough to set the haunted high school mood, but groovy enough to make you nod your head while you play. That cafeteria theme gets me bobbing my head in an instant. My god, listen to this. Each area of the school brings its own flavor too. One hallway might pulse with mysterious synths, another bounces with this Halloween-style rhythm that almost feels heroic. The entire soundtrack keeps things fresh, even when you're wandering around, figuring out where to go next. Yes, it's repetitive, but back then, what wasn't? Who didn't listen to the original Mario theme song 5 billion times in a row? It's a very replayable classic, so you didn't have a choice. The sound effects, though, pure retro charm. Crunchy hits, ghostly squeaks, those little jingles when you grab a weapon or power up, it all works together to give Ghoul School a personality that sticks with you. It's not just background noise, it's part of the game's identity. It's weird, it's catchy, and honestly, it's kind of brilliant. Whenever you defeat an enemy, there's this ridiculous clicking, scoring sound that goes off that, it is kind of annoying in parts when you're trying to listen to that groovy beat, but it's satisfactory. You feel like you achieved something. This game, I just can't say enough about. Is it good? It's not amazing, but it's a solid game. Is it unforgettable? Absolutely. Ghoul School is the definition of janky charm, a game that shouldn't work, but somehow earned your respect just for trying. It's a time capsule of that early 90s weirdness, when developers were throwing ideas at the wall just to see what stuck. So, yeah, Ghoul School might not graduate with honors, but it definitely deserves a spot in the low-tier Legends yearbook. I'm Scrubby Dubby, and remember, some games are bad, some are broken, and some are beautifully haunted. On a scale of 1 to 5 squeakies, I'm gonna give this game 4 squeakies. But don't let that 1 star deter you from playing this game. Ghoul School is only a 3-hour playthrough if you're lucky. It's not overly complicated. It's got a debug mode you can put in at the Electro Brain logo to even skip through levels if you need to. The controls are adaptable, the scenes are fun, the characters are fresh. There's not much to complain about in this game except for it's lacking. It feels a little bare sometimes. The hallways repeat over and over. There's no map. Maps were invented. They exist in video games back then, but they didn't include one here. But otherwise, it's a fresh playthrough, and I highly recommend it. This has been Low Tier Legends with Scrubby Dubby. There's good games out there. You just forgot about them.